Hey, it's Matt, your average gamer. For this video, I'm going to go over the Monster Hunter Wilds beta. This is going to be a review for the beta for PS5. For Xbox and PC, it's going to be out soon, I believe the 31st of October. PlayStation was first, and we're going to go over this in detail. I'm starting by showing some of the intro here. There's not a ton to the beta in terms of what you can do, but you can familiarize yourself with the mechanics of the game, the basics of the game, the weapons, which we'll go over a little bit later in the video, and some of the environments, maps, etc. First, I want to state that right when the intro started, I was literally hooked right away. I thought this was awesome from the time it started out throughout my entire time playing the beta. It was an absolute blast, a ton of fun, exactly what you would want from an open world RPG. And we're going to go over all that in detail in this video and review and go over my thoughts on pretty much everything related to the Monster Hunter Wilds beta. This honestly takes everything that was great about World and improves upon it more. This may be very well the Elden Ring of the Monster Hunter series because it's going to be an open world Monster Hunter game that so far looks phenomenal. If you liked World, I think you're really going to enjoy Wilds because it seems to take directly from that game. Unlike Rise and some of the other Monster Hunters I couldn't really get into, World was really good. I had several hundred hours into World, and this is another game I could see myself pouring hours into because honestly, it's a ton of fun. Now, this is the first hunt that you can do, and after this hunt, by the way, I want to mention real quick, if you're playing the beta, a very deceiving message will come up on screen about a half hour into your playtime. It'll thank you for playing the beta. That's not the end of the beta, though. There's another hunt after that. There's some stuff you can do. You can actually continue playing after that prompt comes up. You'll know what I'm talking about after you play the beta because it's a weirdly placed prompt. It comes up and you're like, oh, I only got 30 minutes of this. No, you get several hours of the beta. There's a lot you can do, and you can even play online with friends and help them with some of their hunts as well. So for the first hunt, I messed up a lot because I had to get used to the controls again. I hadn't played Monster Hunter World since probably about 2021 or so, and I kind of forgot a lot of the controls and had to get used to them again. By the way, there is a lot of controls to remember in terms of weapon attacks and what you need to do at certain times. By the way, if you see the red areas on the monster, they're the weak areas, and of course you can break them to do more damage, and that's something you really want to focus on as you take these big beasts down. And by the way, as you're hunting, certain points they will run away from you and you will have to track them again. Although it's pretty easy to do in this because it gives you a general guidance on how to find them, and certain times you'll find them asleep or they'll go asleep as well, and that'll help you because it gives you an opportunity to basically do big damage and learn the attacks more because again, it took me a little while to get used to the controls once again, but once I did, I was able to get in a good amount of damage to each of the monsters that I ended up hunting, which was only a couple for the beta. Again, there's not a ton you can do in the beta, but it does give you a chance to learn all the mechanics, get your fighting style down, get used to the fact that the roll button is X on PlayStation, and that a lot of your charge attacks are going to come with using triangle. Something I didn't do, by the way, is before I went and hunted, before I went out for a hunt, I did not learn the mechanics of the weapons. I recommend trying to practice with all the different weapon classes and stuff before you go hunting. It's going to help you immensely. By the way, you have a pretty much full map in this game. It's hugely convenient. I love the map for this, honestly. If this is a little bit of a taste of what we're going to get for the final product, I think the map is excellent for what it is. Yeah, the fact that we even have a map and it's so in-depth is going to help us a lot because this is an open world game, right? We need a map that has a lot of detail, and that map does have plenty of detail and information that you would need. Back at the main hub, by the way, a lot of the NPCs and stuff are going to tell you that they're busy. This is because this is the beta for the game, and again, there's not a ridiculous amount you could do, but so far, I really like the way the hub is designed, and it seems pretty active. Yeah, there's enough going on to keep you interested. There's NPCs and characters walking around, and when you're online, you're going to actually see a lot of players walking around too because you can play the beta online. Once again, if you want to team up with friends and do a couple hunts, you can do that in the beta, which is really cool that it allowed us to do that. Yeah, it's a nice addition to the beta that is not just single player, although for me, the two main hunts I did take on solo because I just like playing games solo. I'm not a huge online player in terms of games, but if I have friends that pick it up, of course I'm going to play Monster Hunter Wilds with friends as well because you have the option to do so. Let's go over the different weapon classes, of which there are 14. And by the way, of the 14 weapon classes, there's a lot of variety here. I recommend trying out all of these because you pretty much can in the beta. You could just equip them as your main weapon and try out the different move sets. Definitely recommend doing that. All right, let's check out what options we have for weapons here. So for our primary weapon, we're just going to focus on the primary weapons here. We're going to go over each one. The main one I like is the Great Sword, which you saw me use already. And then the next one up here is going to be the Sword and Shield. You could see it there. Then we have a hammer type weapon as well. That's going to hit pretty hard, as you could tell from the clip there. Each one shows you what they do, by the way. You have kind of a lance and shield type build. And then you have a switch axe here. Tried that one out. That one's really fun, honestly. Insect glaive, didn't try this one out, but that looks pretty quick, more of like a dexterity type weapon. And then we have the heavy bow gun. I'm not a big range person, even in World. I don't recall using too much in terms of the range weapons. And then we have the bow here. Again, another ranged option. The light bow gun. I might want to try that one out. That looks pretty fun to use. The Charge Blade I tried out, I wasn't getting a lot of damage out of this one, but I do love the moveset on it. Gun Lance, that looks pretty cool. Tried that one a little bit, but didn't really hunt with it much. And then we have the Hunting Horn here, kind of another bonk type weapon that could swing pretty big. Another dexterity type weapon here in the Dual Blades. And then lastly on here, we have the Long Sword, another cool weapon. Basically, though, try all these out on your own. See what you like. You see one of them here. They're just a lot of fun to use. Some of them do really big damage with the charge attacks, too. I'm a bigger fan of the bonk type weapons. Had a lot more fun with those. But ultimately, I ended up liking the Great Sword because Great Swords are a lot of fun to use. And in this game, they seem to be no exception to the rule. Once again, I had a really good time with them, and they do big damage. If you followed along to this point, by the way, I want you to comment below, for Monster Hunter, what do you like about the series? Have you ever played the series? Is there something holding you back from playing it? And if you have played it, what is your favorite thing about the series itself? For me, I loved World. I think it's my favorite game in the series, and I honestly think Monster Hunter Wilds could end up topping that. Yeah, open world games for me are a huge selling point. I love open world games. I think they're some of the best games there are because there's so much you could do and you could really commit to the game if it's done right, if it's done well enough. And seeing how each of these games we see kind of improve upon open world. Elden Ring did it some. I think Wilds is going to do it some. Obviously, Zelda did it some as well. It's just amazing to me because eventually we're going to get these open world games really right in terms of keeping them very interesting and having the most possible things you can do in a game, which for me, I actually like. I like being committed to kind of one game and playing it a ton, pouring in several hundred hours and really getting your money's worth. I'm actually curious on your thoughts with that too. Do you love games that are really long and sometimes a little bit grindy, or do you prefer to buy a game and be done with it in a week? I know some people have their preference in terms of that. For me, I like to buy one game and just get a ton of value out of it, because if it's a great game, I'm going to pour hundreds of hours into the game, and I'm going to try to make sure I have a lot of fun in the process. This is the second hunt in the game, by the way. It was a little bit of a challenge for me. I actually fainted once during this because this boss actually beat me up a fairly good bit. Did eventually get him down, and once again, they'll run away probably 3 or 4 times as you're fighting them, and you'll have to continue to follow them and take them down. And sometimes, if you see this on screen, I wanted to show this, they will end up fighting other monsters, and it's a lot of fun when this happens because they can do damage to whatever you're facing, and of course, it's kind of like a live action event type thing. Well, they'll just start fighting with whatever, and it can help you out too because it can take the pressure off you and you can get some hits in. In this case, I kind of just ran around because I just wanted to see what was going to happen here. But ultimately, yeah, it did a little bit of damage to the boss I was hunting, and that's pretty cool that they can get in random fights with other bosses in the environment, other big enemies. Ultimately, though, I really like the variety of this one. I feel like the fact that it's basically open world is going to be a ton of fun. There was a lot to do in the beta in terms of being able to collect stuff and explore the environment. Not too many hunts and stuff to do. I didn't really expect too much from the beta, but this is just a small taste of the final product, and honestly, I can tell you right now already, I'm excited for this game. Just haven't decided whether I'm going to pre-order it for PC or PS5 yet, but I am going to be pre-ordering this game because it looks awesome. Honestly, this is going to be one of the easiest purchases I ever made. As far as World goes, I was kind of unsure about it and then bought it right when it came out, and I ended up enjoying it a lot. But other than, and you know, my channel, I cover a lot of Elden Ring. Other than Elden Ring, this is probably one of the only other few games where I know months ahead of time that I want to purchase this, that I want to pre-order it, no question. And the beta just confirmed that more for me. I had an absolute blast. I thought it was a lot of fun. And honestly, this game looks great. And honestly, too, I wanted to show off some of the PS5 gameplay for Monster Hunter Wilds. For those that were curious on PS5, this is what it's going to look like. And honestly, I think it's a really good-looking game, not just in terms of looks, but the environment, the designs, everything that's involved in it. And on top of that, the combat, too, being so smooth so far and so much fun. It just feels like one of those games that's easily going to be a 9 or 10 out of 10. Seems like a no-question type of deal here. If this is just, again, the small taste of what we're going to get, I honestly cannot wait to dive into Monster Hunter Wilds. And look at the scenery around me right now. It truly is amazing. There's going to be a lot of variety when the game releases in February. I recommend, by the way, if you're on PC or Xbox, checking out the beta. I believe that launches on the 31st. It was first for PlayStation. Thanks for watching this one. I appreciate you tuning in to my review of the Monster Hunter Wilds beta for PS5. I really enjoyed this and honestly can't wait for release.